Welcome to the DPost Sports Talk Show. I'm sports editor Drew Rubenstein, and in with me today is Kristen Kurlick. And Kristen, today let's talk a little bit about Morgantown High football. It's been an eventful summer for the Mohegans. I don't think I remember a summer like this where so many MHS football players are getting interest from high-level colleges. And the first one that jumps to mind is Imani Brown. I know that he was a guy that Bill Beedenbow, the former offensive line coach who moved to Oklahoma in the offseason, had an eye on Imani and really seemed to like what he brought to the table and how he could transition into a potential college tackle. Can you tell us a little bit more about Imani? Was there something that kind of sealed the deal for him to officially get that scholarship offer from WVU? And what do you think the Mountaineers coaches see from him moving forward?
Yeah, as you said, Bill Beedenbaugh did kind of start the recruiting process with Imani. When he left, Tony Gibson and the new offensive line coach at WVU, Ron Crook, kind of continued that process, saw some film, that sort of thing. I think what sealed the deal was at a recent one-day camp that Imani attended. He was working with a group of linemen, about 40 linemen, and was chosen as the MVP out of that group, and just really impressed the WVU staff. And he got a call the very next morning from MHS head coach John Bowers, who said, "Hey, I've got Tony Gibson here who wants to speak to you. Can you give him a call?" And of course, Imani did that right away, and Tony Gibson handed him over to head coach Dana Holgerson, who offered him a scholarship, and Imani said he didn't have to consider it at all. He pretty much just, it was about a 30-second thing, said, "Yep, I'm going to be a Mountaineer." He said he's always wanted to be a Mountaineer. He was the little kid who grew up with all the jerseys and watching the games and just getting excited about that. So that was kind of a dream come true for him.
That's neat. And I know he was at Robert C. Byrd, and then his family moved to Morgantown, and that's how he ended up going to Morgantown High. But football wasn't even his initial sport, or the sport that he almost thought he was going to excel at, right? Do you know a little bit? He was a basketball guy, and then how did that whole thing transition to where he's now a future Division I football player?
Right. He did play football and basketball at Robert C. Byrd. He played as a freshman on the football team there, and then took his sophomore year off, actually. And then moved to Morgantown and began attending Morgantown, began playing on the football team as a junior. But when he originally came to Morgantown, he thought he was primarily a basketball player. He's a tall kid. He's 6'5". He is 265, but he's a tall, athletic kid. He moves very well. He's got length, he's got long, rangy arms, and he's a kid that could fill out from 265 to be, he's a kid that could be 300 pounds and not be overweight and still be moving around on the football field. And he came in and it was very evident to the MHS coaches that this is a formula for probably a Division I college football prospect.
Right. One of his teammates too, that seems like he's still going to be able to put on a good bit of weight, is Stone Wolfe. I know he's only a rising junior, but it seems like he's got the frame and the body, and he certainly has the genetics from his dad and uncle to fill out even more. He received the scholarship offer from WVU and immediately accepted, and that's pretty alarming, or pretty impressive, considering that he is just a rising junior and already to get that interest. But what do you see from Stone? What led to his ultimate scholarship offer? Was there something that really opened up WVU's eyes, or were they kind of keeping an eye on him the last couple years too?
He's another one that MHS went to the 7-on-7 tournament at WVU, and he was so impressive that I think by the end of that day of camp, the WVU staff had approached him, and they were wanting to offer him a scholarship. At that point, he couldn't technically commit. He is, as you said, only just going to be a junior. But again, for Stone, that was something that he didn't really have to think about with his father. Dale played at WVU from 87 to 90. He was an offensive lineman there. He's got his uncle, Ron, who was a running back at WVU from 81 to 84. So kind of runs in the family, and just another no-brainer for Stone.
Right, and I know MHS also has Andre Collins, another lineman who's receiving looks from a number of schools. It'll be interesting as we continue to follow him this football season. He's got some looks and offers from VMI, but he's probably going to be in the mix, and other schools are probably going to jump in there. But the one guy that probably just casual high school football fans are most familiar with at MHS is someone that we haven't even brought into the discussion, someone who'll probably also get college looks, and that's Chazzy Thomas. We're still a little bit away from the start of fall camp, but Chazzy did return to the 3-week summer period after suffering that horrific injury in the Mohawk Bowl last year. What did you see from Chazzy in those optional workouts, and what do you think can he get back to the player he was this upcoming fall?
You know, that's the question. Chazzy, he did return. He did do everything in the 3-week period that anyone else did. He looks great doing it. He is moving around, but again, it's non-contact, and it's just not the same sort of level as it's going to be when they put the pads on in August and start really going for it. So that's something that we'll just kind of see how it goes. But at this point, he is back.
With Chazzy, I know it's been a long road to full recovery here, and we'll see if he's there. But part of that recovery road was competing in track. He tried to go out for the track team and competed for a while. Obviously, he didn't make it to regionals and the state tournament because he ultimately had to finish. But do you think getting in the track and doing a little bit was beneficial to him in the long run?
I think that was the right move for him at that time. At the beginning of track season, they thought his recovery was coming along great. He was ahead of the schedule. He said that he was feeling really great. He had gotten his strength back in his leg, and it was time to test it out. And at the beginning of the season, it was going real well for him. He was competing in the 100-meter dash and doing pretty well. He was maybe a little bit off of the time that he would have been running last year.
Sure.
But then they tried to put in the 200-meter dash about halfway through the season, and when he started running that event, he started having a little bit of issues because that does require a turn around the track, and that change in direction as he was running was just maybe a little too much at that point. So they decided, well, football's his main sport, let's not rush it with track, and so he did stop doing track about halfway through the season, didn't compete in regionals or states. Now, at this point, Chazzy says if it were track season right now and he was having to do that same thing, wouldn't be an issue. He's past that. He said really it was a good decision for him to stop and spend a month or so back in the weight room and in therapy. He said the biggest thing was improving his flexibility at that point, and that's what he's still working on the most right now. But he is able to make those sort of turns. The question will be when it comes to football, how sharp can he make turns? How sharp can he cut when it comes to hitting a hole and evading guys on the football field?
And that'll be something that'll be one of the bigger stories as fall camp opens up. And if he does get back to that player, I have a feeling that he'll join some of his other teammates in getting scholarship offers at the next level. So we'll continue to watch Chazzy, and next time we talk, we'll get into more about Andre and other Mohegans. But it's going to be interesting to see when they have so much individual talent, if they're able to mesh it all together and continue to compete for state championships like they have in recent years. Thanks a lot, Kristen, and please continue to check TheDPost.com for all the latest sports videos, and DominionPost.com and the Dominion Post for all the latest in local sports.